Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, the show that is part of the Simply Luxurious Life online destination, cultivating true contentment, the art of living a life of quality over quantity. Visit the blog, The Simply Luxurious Life, at our simplified URL, tsll.co or thesimplyluxuriouslife.com to find the show notes for each podcast episode, as well as much more weekly content to elevate your everyday and deepen your contentment. From a Monday motivational post, recipes, videos of the cooking show series, style and decor inspiration, French and British inspired content, and readers' favorite regular weekly post, This and That, which is posted each Friday morning. Now to today's episode. Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Abels. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 371st episode of the Simple Sophisticate. And today's episode, we're going to talk about savoring a quiet Christmas. And when we say Christmas, we're talking about this whole time of year, November through December, where all sorts of holidays are being shared and savored and gathered for, and traditions are embraced and partaken in. And we're going to approach it in this quiet manner, but while simple, it is very significant. Now, over the years, in previous episodes, I've talked about having a simply luxurious Christmas. Savoring last year's episode was savoring a Christmas alone, simply luxuriously. And this year, whether you celebrate it on your own or with your significant other or with your intimate family or with a lot of people or with friends or with people you don't know, but you're gathering together to celebrate for this time of year, it still can be quiet. Still can be something that is, while on the outside may look tame, is actually deeply nourishing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So whether or not snow has fallen, come December, wherever you live, the warmth and cheer of good tidings that appear around the towns, the cities, the neighborhoods, in the shops, in our mailboxes as holiday cards arrive from friends and family that live near and far, this always wraps me up in a figurative hug. This year, similar to last, I will be spending Christmas at home in Bend, Oregon, and it is exactly where I want to be. And leading up to the festive day has been and will continue to be sprinkled with intentional activities, pastimes, and nibbles that create a festive, cozy atmosphere that I feel most fortunate to be able to savor. Each of us will go through different seasons in our lives, stepping out of old chapters and into new ones when we embrace our courage to welcome what is awaiting to be given to us. Should we have the courage to step away from what we know and no longer fits us and into what we don't know, but that we just intuitively know is the best decision and direction for us. And such is the case for me that I am delighting in quiet Christmases as of late, and I am absolutely loving it. As Nigel Slater eloquently writes in the Christmas Chronicles in his delicious image-evoking prose, Christmas is celebrated by Christians and non-Christians alike. It is a cultural event as much as a religious one, end quote. I share the rest of this quote in last year's holiday episode 347, if you want to have a look at it. But part of why Christmas and the entirety of November and December is treasured by so many is that it is celebrated around the world, and it is celebrated by people of a variety of different beliefs or non-beliefs, and that is a reason to smile and appreciate this season even more. Now, perhaps inspired a bit by Beth Kempton's beloved book, which has been cited for a couple different podcast episodes and posts over the last couple years. I know you, many listeners and readers of the Simple Luxurious Life blog, have enjoyed her book, Calm Christmas, and enjoy returning to it each year. And because I started this list of savoring a Christmas simply luxuriously last year, of sharing 9 ideas for how to do so, this episode, I want to share how to savor a quiet Christmas with as few or as many people as you desire, and reveal how these thoughtful ways to enjoy this special time of year, while not extravagant or complex or even requiring money, can bring a deep richness to the season, making it all the more special. So let's take a look at the list. Number 1, find, play, and enjoy favorite holiday playlists and play in just the perfect amounts throughout the season. Now, playing holiday music nonstop from November 1st on may be your preferred approach to holiday music. Or you may prefer a little slow drip of Christmas and holiday music throughout your days, routines, activities throughout this season. Whichever or whatever is your jam, you do you and savor, 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 but let yourself savor. I've included 2 holiday playlists that I've made over the years. One that has no lyrics, and one that does have lyrics, but all in the vein of simply luxurious. So you have a lot of classical music, some jazz favorites, as well as pop favorites as well. All right, so that's number 1 to get us in the mood. Play that music. The amount is up to you. All right, number 2, bake favorites in the kitchen gradually throughout the holiday season. And I think a lot of you probably do this based on various comments I've read throughout this last month, these last 2 months on the blog. But you want to enjoy these traditions, whatever it is you enjoy baking and sharing with loved ones or having in your house. If you make it a task, a have to, then it takes away the joy of the season. You may not be able to bake everything that you used to bake, but if you really think about the ones that if you didn't bake it, oh man, that would just be, I would miss that because you only do it once a year. Those are the ones that you keep. And so long as you plan out your 2 months of November and December and bake them on those days that are wide open so that you can enjoy this seasonal baking or cooking occasion, then it becomes and continues to be something that you look forward to. In my own kitchen a few years ago, I started making Christmas stollen. And it, in fact, was a recipe I shared on the Simply Luxurious Cooking Show a couple years ago in 2019. And it's something I bake every year now. It's actually very simple to make, even though initially it looks complicated. And I end up with my recipe with 3 loaves, so I share with my neighbors. But it is something that I would never do throughout the rest of the year because obviously it's Christmas stolen. But it is something that is special to the season. Another recipe that I now make every year is a bûche de Noël, actually a gluten-free one because I found this one to be more flavorful than one that has flour in it. And it was the holiday baking episode for this year when I made the recipe that is from Dominique Enzel, a French patissiere. It is absolutely delicious, but it is again very simple, but it initially sounds complex and complicated because we don't make it that often and it looks so fancy, but it is absolutely something that makes the season special when we make time to do it and savor it. So, whatever your favorites are, figure out a time to bake them, make them, and share them, or just savor them at home with yourself. That's number 2. Number 3, speaking of baking and making things and potentially giving them away, deliver something homemade or thoughtfully considered as gifts to give to close everyday acquaintances. A tradition I love to partake in, and one that continues to grow as far as how many people I am delivering goods to and receiving from solely in my neighborhood, is giving homemade cookies or goods to those people in our life that while we may not have an intimate relationship with them, they are vital relationships. Our neighbors, our children's teachers, the mail carriers, newspaper deliverers, anyone whose kindness, efforts, and time shared in our lives is appreciated. Think about how you can say thank you in your own unique way. It doesn't have to be baked goods, it can be anything you want. So One thing that I have a newspaper deliverer who delivers my Sunday newspaper, and it took me 2 years to finally figure out how to get this newspaper delivered on Sundays. But finally, I did. And this gentleman delivers every single Sunday, rain or shine or snow, 5 o'clock in the morning, on the dot, on the nose. And the least I can do is say thank you somehow. So, whether it's a tip or a baked good, anything that just expresses gratitude, because our lives are more enjoyable because of the people that we work with, that we share time with, that we share our neighborhoods with, just as a practice of not taking things for granted. This is a wonderful opportunity this time of year to say thank you. Now, one of those recipes that I did cook for my neighbors this year, and I change every year depending on what I've come across or what I think they might like, or what didn't work out last year. And so I was like, okay, let's do something different this year, is a new recipe I shared last week on the blog. It is an adaptation from a gingerbread recipe that I had when I was in the Lake District in England this past October. So, Sarah Nelson's Grasmere gingerbread is famous in the Lake District. It is unique, it is delicious, and it's like no other gingerbread you'll ever have. Well, anyway, there's a recipe now on the blog. I gave it my best shot, and I think it turned out pretty well based on the reviews and the comments from readers who've given it a shot already. I think it did go well. And if you want to try out Grasmere's gingerbread recipe adapted by the Simply Luxurious Life, it is on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 371, and it is super simple to make. All right, that's number 3. Deliver something homemade or thoughtful to those who are close acquaintances in your everyday life. Number 4, light the candles, but mind the scent. So, because we are inside so much this time of year, adding a soft light from a candle or candles becomes all the more special. And also because we are inside far more than out, and the windows and doors are tightly closed, it is important to choose candles that, if they do offer a scent, it's a scent that is well loved by all of those who spend time in our house. So typically, in my own house, I choose beeswax or vegan soy based candles that don't have a scent. But if they do have a scent, I choose as gentle and natural as possible. And I've included a link to the 10 candles that, the 10 candle brands, the 10 French candle brands, in fact, that I love and highly recommend. You can check those out. But I think it's sometimes we go a little overboard. If we're not someone who's super aware of scents, which I tend to be, but not like everyone. uh, If we're not aware of how it may affect others that are going to be in our house, it might be a little overboard. So just be cognizant of that. But at the same time, just simply having the light of a candle, it need not be scented, is very comforting, very soothing, and an acknowledgement of the time of year we're in. We're nearing the winter solstice, the darkest day of the year, that eventually begins to turn into days that are longer, which is something that we'll talk about in a moment. So that's number 4. Start to light the candles or welcome more candles in, but mind the scent. Number 5, step outside into the snow and away from the human made festivities and into the wilderness. Now, I know not everyone has snow, and I know not everyone is in close proximity to Mother Nature as we are here in Bend. However, any opportunity you have to step outside, even if it's just outside your front door to take a walk or breathe in the fresh air, is an opportunity to be grounded, but also to clear our heads. And as we have this opportunity in Bend to be near where the snow may fall, if it doesn't fall in town, is an absolute gift. And so if you have the chance to bundle up and step away from the city or town that you live in and into the quiet of Mother Nature, maybe it's a park nearby your house, or maybe you can drive to a park within a couple or handful of minutes. Savor the natural beauty. Take your time to look about and enjoy the crunch of the snow, the chill and crisp of the air. And don't forget to bring your 4-legged companions as well. They will no doubt thank you. And do this as many times as you're inspired to do so. Recently, when we still had snow here in Bend, we went skiing one morning. We went snowshoeing another day. not long excursions, just an hour or so, and then we were back home getting warm. But it does so much good for both myself and the pups, and it really can only be savored this time of year, so we try to take advantage of that. All right. Number 6, celebrate the winter solstice. So, with the arrival of the shortest day of the year on December 21st, tomorrow, if you're listening on the 20th when this episode airs, including time and awareness of this reality of the days beginning to gradually gain daylight as we step into December 22nd, it is a wonderful time of year to celebrate an opportunity for growth, a deeper understanding of our inner true self. And as we step forward into both a new year and longer days, why not view what is to come as an opportunity to apply all that we have learned and bring what is possible regarding our capabilities and a more grounded and aware way of being to the world? I think what we will discover if we choose to do this is that there will be more to appreciate, more to savor, and more to enjoy in the days to come if we do. Now, some would say, well, that's what the New Year's is for. And it is, or it can be. But what I've been finding as I become more engaged in my garden is that the more in tune I am with Mother Nature, the more she has to teach me. Or she's always had a lot to teach me. Now I'm just more aware there's more lessons that I can learn. And there's a, I wouldn't say it's about it's not an accountability that Mother Nature provides, but more of a encouragement to, yeah, things ebb and flow, Shannon. You're going to go through times where it's confusing and dark, but you're also, if you choose to use those as opportunities, you're going to come into times that are full of light, full of growth, and full of receiving and harvesting. But you have to go through the cycles. And if we celebrate and honor each cycle of the seasons, we are being more loving to ourselves and thus can be more loving as we engage with the world. Now, this might be something you already do. You may already celebrate the winter solstice, and I'm just repeating what you're already doing. But if you haven't created a ritual around the 21st of December or wherever the winter solstice falls on the calendar for where you live, consider doing so this year and create a ritual that speaks to you, what would bring awareness to you about this truth of the revolution of the earth around the sun and how it is a wonderful observance to make as we too evolve should we choose to. So that's number 6. Now I have 6 more ways to savor a quiet Christmas after these 2 sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by Bombas. When you give Bombas this holiday, you're giving more comfort because their socks, underwear, t-shirts, and slippers are made with such absurdly soft materials, you'll want to keep a few for yourself. And more good because for every item you purchase, they donate another to someone who needs it. Socks, underwear, and t-shirts are the 3 most requested clothing items in homeless shelters. When you buy yours from Bombas, you're also donating essential items to those who need them. 1 purchased equals 1 donated. And Bombas doesn't just do good, they feel good. They're your go-to basics for getting cozy. Everything is made to make you more comfortable, from their breathable yet supportive underwear to their Sherpa-lined slippers. And you can't forget about their famous socks that are ultra plush and made from luxe materials like merino wool and cashmere to keep your toes toasty. Bombas also has ready-to-go gift boxes filled with high-quality basics your loved ones will enjoy all year long. And the best part is, they come in a beautifully designed box you don't even have to wrap. They're the perfect holiday gift. But if your giftee doesn't absolutely love them, they're covered with a 100% happiness guarantee. That means super easy returns and size exchanges. It's truly no hassle. Right at this very moment, I have my Bombas socks on. We just returned from a walk outdoors, and my socks that I pull up to my middle of my calves go on, and my boots go on after, and they keep my toes warm and toasty, but also last a very long time. So as a simple sophisticate listener, go to bombas.com/sophisticate and use code sophisticate for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/sophisticate and use code sophisticate at checkout. That's bombas.com/sophisticate, code sophisticate. The Simple Sophisticate is also sponsored by Hydro. It's a state of the art, at home rowing machine that delivers the ultimate full body workout, and it is designed by rowers. How ultimate? It works 86% of your muscles. I'm talking arms, legs, and core, and it only takes 20 minutes. Rowing with Hydro is low impact, so low risk of injury. And having done a workout, it absolutely will give you a wonderful workout and only in 20 minutes. Hydro workouts are taught by Olympians and world class athletes. They're great coaches, regardless of your fitness level, from athletes to beginners. And the workouts, this is the best part, are filmed all over the world outside so that you are vicariously traveling around the world with them, with locations that will delight your eyes and motivate you to keep on rowing. Hydro has you covered with a free standard shipping, a 30-day risk-free trial, and a 1-year warranty. Having had the opportunity to sit and row on my Hydro, what I loved best was being able to row in my home when the weather wasn't suitable and also see beautiful sights from around the world, as the traveler in me is oh so curious about other places around the globe. As a Simple Sophisticate listener, join the growing rowing community at Hydro. Head over to hydro.com and use the code SIMPLE to save up to $500 off your Hydro. That's hydro.com, HYDROW.com. Using code SIMPLE to save up to $500. That's hydro.com, code SIMPLE. Welcome back. Number 7 on our list of ways to savor a quiet Christmas. Simple yet significant. Let's talk about getting out and about. So, even if you want a quiet Christmas, part of the fun of Christmas is all that changes in our communities and all that comes just once a year. So, we know it's only going to be once a year, but at the same time, there's a lot of special things to take in and to savor. And for me, there are particular places I go in Bend every year, specifically this time of year, because of how it's different during the holiday season. So, what is number 7? Number 7 is visit favorite haunts for a taste of the bustle of the season. So, even though I prefer a quiet Christmas, I also enjoy visiting favorite shops, bakeries, and anything that has a festive energy, such as a bookshop where I love to go anyway. But then this just increases a little bit more. There's holiday decorations, there's maybe new items that are seasonal. For example, I went to one of my favorite bakeries this last week to work. I decided to get out of the house. I'm like, I'm going to work. I can work from a cafe today, and I went and I just sat next to their Christmas tree and kind of tucked away, and it was bustling, it was busy. There were all sorts of people that weren't locals. The tree had croissants hanging on it, so it just made you smile, and everyone who passed the tree, they would smile, and kids would play like, "Oh my gosh, look at what's on the tree." It just amps up your holiday spirit a little bit, even if yours is already amped up pretty good, which mine is at a very comfortable level for me. And a lot of smiles occurred. So carve out time to go to those places when you're not in a hurry and just savor the holiday decorations on display, the visiting of friends and family, and the magic that tends to dance about during this time of year. That's number 7. Number 8 is delight in unexpected gifts discovered. Okay, so if you follow me on Instagram, you're already going to know about this one. But celebrate as though these gifts that arrive in your life are from a secret Santa. And what I mean by that is you didn't expect them, not that you should ever expect anything as far as gifts are concerned, but you didn't expect them and they just magically crossed your path and they are what you absolutely wanted and you didn't think it would ever come. Let yourself celebrate and do not hold back on your exuberance. I cannot tell you when or where you will be when this gift is given to you, or gifts are given to you, or even what they will be. In fact, only you will know, as it will be a delight to you and you alone. But when the gift arrives, do not hide your glee. And it might not even be a thing that's tangible. It might be snow in California. I mean, things that you just don't see very often, but it happens, or it happens on a really special day and it wasn't in the forecast. Savor this. Dance about. Let your glee be shared. The example of that happened to me recently. So This past weekend, I was driving back through town after we went for a walk in the snow, and I popped into my local grocer, Newport Market. And lo and behold, I was just picking up a few things for dinner and for the weekend. I went to get a stick of butter because I was out, and I typically stock up my French butter every couple months when I go to Portland because I have a certain French butter that I love and I bake with and I make with my croissants and all that. And lo and behold, they now have it. I saw the wrapping of the brand, and I just could not believe my eyes. I probably made a sound of, woo. But I definitely did not hide my excitement. I took a picture of it. I told the clerk and the one of the workers who I know by name. He's very lovely, and actually I know quite a few of them by name. They're so lovely in there. They're so kind. They remember you, which makes it all the more welcoming. Anyway, he's like, "Oh, you really like this butter?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you have no idea." And we talked about what we make with it and what he makes with his butter at home. It was just a lovely conversation. Anyway, my smile stretched from ear to ear, and I considered this my secret Santa gift to me because I did never expected it would happen. Never, ever, ever. And I was happily content with how and what I had to do to get my butter. But this was a really cool gift. So those kind of things where you're not, there's no anticipation whatsoever. And it just crosses your path, and let yourself be excited outwardly. Let it happen. We could all use more of that in this world. Absolutely. So that's number 8. Number 9, add an ornament each year that holds a memory to treasure. Whether you put it on a tree or it's a bauble you put in a special bowl, having at least one ornament. I know this is something that many of you do already, but when you do this with intentionality, your tree, it may look somewhat the same every year, but every year it isn't because you're adding something new. And my trees will never look perfect. They will never be a photo that they would be taken for a magazine profile, but I love my trees when they're decorated each year because they hold more and more of my beloved life memories. And so this year, one of the new baubles that I picked up was one from England, and it was by Gisela Graham. And it depicts my love of England as well as my love of gardening because it has an English robin and a watering can on it. And so now every time I look at it, those are two things that I deeply savored this year. And every year I just add one or two more. And every year it's just a reflection and a reminder, and it deepens my appreciation. So that's number 9. Number 10. This is one I have a feeling many of you, if you don't already do this, you likely will want to do this. Welcome the Icelandic tradition of Jólabaklaflud into your Christmas Eve festivities. And I did my best with that Icelandic pronunciation, but what Jólabaklaflud means is book flood. This is an Icelandic tradition that began following World War II, as one of the few things in abundance at that particular time was paper. And ever since, this annual giving of books on Christmas Eve has taken place. And what happens is they exchange gifts with each other that are books. And then that evening is spent snuggling in, reading your books quietly, paired with something warm and delicious to sip, usually a Blonde or a non alcoholic beer. Again, did not pronounce that properly, but I did my best, or a hot chocolate. And it has continued to be embraced and savored around the world. And it's just now becoming more globally known, I guess you could say, at least maybe more so in the States this year, especially. I know many other international listeners. I know one English reader and member of the community shared she does this with her family. And it was the first introduction that I'd ever had to it. But when she shared it with me, and not calling it an Icelandic tradition because I didn't understand what that was at the time, but just what the actual tradition was: exchanging books, sitting down and enjoying, reading and sipping something lovely. I was like, oh, I love that. That sounds like a fantastic one to incorporate. So maybe consider, if you aren't already doing this in your holiday traditions and rituals, to welcome book flood into your Christmas Eve celebrations. Number 11, take a neighborhood or local drive to see the holiday lights. So last weekend, after savoring our own neighborhood wassail and lights walkabout the week before, I learned of a few more neighborhoods in town that go all out in their decorations, attracting people from all over the county and town, specifically here in Bend, to slowly drive through and gaze at the festive and creative artistry. So I packed up the pups, made myself a chocolat chaud or hot chocolate, and made sure the holiday tunes were playing in the car, and off we went. It wasn't more than an hour's drive around town to various neighborhoods, but it was beautiful and delightful fun. And there were other cars slowly driving through these neighborhoods. And I will definitely continue to do this every year, especially as our own neighborhood has become very festive. Every year we're becoming quite colorful in our lights. And it was a lovely walkabout that week before. Even Nell and Norman seem to take note of some of the house's decor. They're like, "Oh my goodness, there's a Snoopy," and no, I'm sure they was just like, "What in the heck's going on at that house? All those colors." But anyway, it was a simple thing to do. It didn't cost a penny, and it was a way to see the different neighborhoods in town as well. All right, last but not least, number 12. Watch favorite and new holiday films, series, and specials. A not surprising inclusion, but one to definitely include on the list today, as cozying in and watching or doing things that we would only do once a year is what this is all about. And that includes watching festive holiday films, new and old, that bring a bit of levity as well as hope to the season and as we look ahead to start a new year. And if there is a mystery to solve along with the festive show, all the better, if that is our favorite genre of choice. Let me share with you a few that are new ones that you might want to check out, and also some Anglophile Christmas specials that Acorn TV and BritBox include that are worth checking out. So, just recently, and I want to thank listener and member of this community, Michelle W, for bringing this to my attention. I completely missed it, but now I know, and I watched it and I loved it. Sister Boniface on BritBox has just shared their first Christmas special, and it is worth checking out. It's a lot of fun. It has drawn inspiration from Agatha Christie's Death on the Orient Express, but it definitely makes it its own, and it is a lot of fun to watch. Madame Blanc Mysteries. So last year they had their first Christmas special with season 2. This year they will have their season 3 Christmas special. It will air on December 26th on BritBox. So they have 2 that you'll be able to enjoy. And then Doc Martin's Christmas special, the first they ever did, that was associated with the last season of the show, season 10, is a wonderful one to watch on Acorn TV. Then you have Miss Fisher's Murder Under the Mistletoe, which is episode 13 of season 2 on Acorn TV. And Midsummer Murders has 3 Christmas specials. They might have a fourth because they have a fourth episode airing next Monday. And I don't know if it's a holiday one or not, but I at least know they have 3. And I've listed all 3 of them on the show notes if you want to try to find them. And then we have the always comedic but ever resourceful Agatha Raisin. They had a holiday episode titled Kissing Christmas Goodbye on season 4, episode 1 on Acorn TV. I've also included, and one more. I just watched it on PBS, Mary Berry's Highland Christmas. Oh my gosh. Every single recipe she makes in this hour production, it looks wonderful. And there's some that we've done on the blog. We did the Christmas Stolen. She makes her own Christmas Stolen. She makes a bûche de Noël, a little bit different than mine, so you can check that out. It looks delicious. She has some wonderful guests join her, but these recipes look scrumptious. I highly recommend you watching. It just aired in the States earlier this week, so it's available on PBS. And it's also available in the UK. Along with that, I've updated my holiday films list to include now 15 simply luxurious holiday films to enjoy each year. That is included on today's show notes. And in fact, if you tuned in last year for the Petite Plaisir of episode 347, you know that A Storm for Christmas was the Petite Plaisir, and I highly recommend that series. There's 8 episodes in it, set in an airport in Scandinavia, and it is hands down my most favorite modern Christmas telling or story, because it's not a film, it's a series. It is wonderful. And I'll explain why if you tune into episode 347 and the Petite Plaisir, or you can read the post on it as I've written the review online as well. So those are the 12 ideas on how to savor a quiet Christmas. And however you choose to welcome a quiet Christmas, if that is your modus operandi this year, I hope you have a joy-filled and memorable holiday season. And we have not wrapped up yet. Inspired by one of the points in today's list is a petit plaisir I look forward to sharing with you. I'll be right back. So this week's petit plaisir is a book. Inspired by the book flood, the Icelandic tradition of giving books as gifts on Christmas Eve and spending the evening reading and sipping something delicious, I wanted to share with you a book I think you would enjoy. I read this last fall, and it will be included in my favorite books list, which I will be sharing next week on the blog for 2023. But it's a book that came out earlier this year titled Your Brain on Art, How the Arts Informs Us by Susan Magsamen and Ivy Ross. And what is lovely about this book is obviously it just says in the title, but it is based on science. There have been all sorts of research that art indeed affects the brain profoundly in many positive and transformative ways. And they break down the chapters into how it cultivates your well-being, how it restores your mental health, how it helps heal the body, how it can amplify learning, how it helps you flourish. And then the last chapter is about how art can cultivate and create community. So if you are someone who is part of community boards, or you are a board member yourself, or a council member, or running for office, or a volunteer in your community of any sort, there are all sorts of inspiration and findings about how art in our communities, in a variety of different modes and mediums, can positively contribute to our communities. And I want to share one passage or a couple passages on a particular topic that talks about how art helps us flourish. And part of the reason this really spoke to me is because they talk about how the 6 fundamental attributes of flourishing are curiosity and wonder, awe, enriched environments, creativity, rituals, novelty, and surprise. And we talk about a lot of these things on this show. We talk about, trusting your curiosity, but also nourishing your curiosity. We talk about how we can cultivate enriching environments, whether that's physically in our homes or with our relationships or with where we work or taking care of outdoor areas, and simply just being aware of how our environment affects us. And then, of course, we talk about rituals here on the podcast and the blog constantly. But I want to talk about how art, specifically beauty, as we see beauty in art, cultivates wonder. They write, wonder is a complex feeling that creates a heightened state of consciousness and emotion. It's akin to curiosity, but it's more expansive in scope and contains attributes of surprise and joy. It has been defined in scientific literature as our innate desire to understand the world, which simmers inside each of us, waiting to be ignited. Wonder often seeds our curiosity. According to wonder researchers, beauty is primarily what triggers it. And the arts, which frequently contain the beautiful and the unexpected, are excellent facilitators of wonder. You are struck by something, and this astonishment becomes fertile ground. Wonder snaps you to attention and is one of the most effective ways to spark curiosity. So, this is a taste of what you'll discover, but what I love about this passage is that it's this idea that we are all trying to understand the world. And art basically opens doors for us to understand truths about ourselves, about our culture, about where we live, about the past. Everyone's going to be on their own journey. But it is by continuing to open those doors that we find more clues and tips and awarenesses that lead us in the direction of honoring who and what we can uniquely give, and enjoying the journey along the way as we gaze upon or experience what art can bring into our lives. All right, so the book is called Your Brain on Art: How the Arts Transforms Us, and I will provide a link on the show notes. But I'm not done. It is the holiday season, and I would like to give you a second petit plaisir because this item was a gift given to me by a very special reader, Nicola, and it is a commonplace book. And if you've never heard of the term commonplace book, I have a feeling you may have incorporated it into your routine anyway. So a commonplace book is a journal with blank pages waiting for you to fill them. But it's not a diary in that sense. So let me just share with you a little bit about what a commonplace book is as shared on Stars Made Bookbinding. And that's where this book came from, and the one I have in my hands, and I will link to it on the show notes. So, the idea of a traditional commonplace book is to record things we may have read or overheard and which we consider to be well expressed. Noting how something is said is a means of enriching our own linguistic expression and gives us an increased repertoire of language for our own thoughts. All sorts of famous people have kept commonplace books, including John Milton, Napoleon Bonaparte, Lewis Carroll, and Virginia Woolf. Commonplace books also present an interesting record of our social and cultural history, especially the voices of women from the past whose thoughts would rarely have been put into print. They might include poems, passages of text, recipes, reading lists, songs, drawings, sayings, family turns of phrase, calligraphy, aspirations, all making up an extended memoir of the author's interests. And so I think, it goes on, and there's more to the history, but the idea is this is not a diary. This is where you keep basically little bits and pieces that speak to you throughout your day or throughout your life. I usually include quotes that I find, or I'll make random lists, or a new word I'll learn, I'll put it down. There's so many that you can the options and opportunities and ideas are endless for what you can put in this journal. But it is called a commonplace book because it's not a diary. It is something that it seems common every place because it's just your everyday going ons and you find these things. But as you look back, and it is fun to do that, to look back through your notebooks, which I never called commonplace books, but I still have these journals that I did exactly this thing as far as what I would write in them. It's fun to look over them and to see where your thoughts were, what you discovered, what spoke to you, and so on and so forth. So, as we step into a new year, or maybe as you begin the week between the years that begins on December 26th, maybe finding and giving or gifting to yourself a commonplace book is a wonderful way to begin capturing your thoughts and finding more clarity in the direction you wish to travel. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each episode where I'll recommend a book, a film, a show, a recipe, anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. I want to thank you for tuning in today. You can find the show notes on the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 371. And as I shared earlier this month on the blog, we have made a few changes as far as free posts for non-members of the Simply Luxurious Life community. And from now until January 4th, there's a wonderful opportunity to save money and become a basic member. So as of this week, there are only 2 free posts for non-members. So if you read the blog or visit the blog more than 2 times a month, definitely consider becoming a basic member before January 4th, as the prices for the basic membership will go up on January 4th permanently. Currently, you only have to pay $2.50 a month to read as many posts as you want under the basic membership. That breaks down to $2.50 a month if you pay the $30 annual fee. And if you just want to pay monthly, it's just $3 a month. On January 4th, the prices will go up to $4.50 a month and $45 for a year's membership. That will save you 15% on the monthly price. But I want to make sure you get in on that opportunity to save, because once you have that price, so long as you keep your membership active, even if you pause it from time to time, you will always have that price. And that's the benefit of keeping your membership active. It also supports the content you tune in to listen to, stop by to read, because it is because of the memberships, which fund over 85% of what is brought regularly to listeners and readers and viewers, that make the Simply Luxurious Life what it is. I want to wish you a most happy and festive, love-filled, joy-filled holiday season and conclusion to this year. And look for a brand new episode on Wednesday, the 3rd of January. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bonne journée and bonne année. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, visit the blog, The Simply Luxurious Life, with the shortened URL tsll.co or thesimplyluxuriouslife.com. For more in-depth exploration of how to cultivate your own unique, simply luxurious life, pick up my new book, which became both a bestseller and #1 new release in France Travel, The Road to Le Papillon, Daily Meditations on True Contentment. Available in all 4 formats for your preferred reading or listening. My first book, titled Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, and my second book, Living the Simply Luxurious Life, are also available in each of the 4 formats. Readers can now join the more intimate The Simply Luxurious Life international community by becoming members of the blog, which offers the benefits of ad-free reading site-wide, unlimited access and exclusive access to content on the blog, such as the monthly A Couple Moments with Shannon video chat, tours of my home Le Papillon, the monthly What Made Me Smile post, and monthly Ponderings post, as well as the exclusive opportunity to enter all of the giveaways during the annual French and British weeks. To stay caught up on all things Simply Luxurious, the podcast, blog post, the cooking show, and receive exclusive news, as well as an extra dose of inspiration to jumpstart each new month, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's free monthly newsletter, arriving on the last day of each month in your inbox. There is also a weekly newsletter, which is also free, and arrives each Friday to keep you caught up on the recent weekly posts on the blog. Enjoy with a hot cuppa or cup of morning coffee, and stay in the know about all things simply luxurious. Look for 2 new episodes of this podcast on the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of each month. And until next time, I'm your host, Shannon Nibbles. Thank you for tuning in. Bonne journée.